Hello and welcome back to Lead the Stack, where we explore the future of financial services and technology through the stories of the people who are shaping it. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by someone who has quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, influenced the backbone of our industry, Burton Keller. Burton is the co-founder of Delta Data, a company that started in the 1980s and went on to modernize fund processing long before the word fintech even existed. Today, after Delta Data's acquisition by BetaNXT, he's serving as an advisor helping advance their vision of connected wealth. We're going to talk about his journey, what he saw back then, how he built a company that adapted through 4 decades of change, and how he thinks about modernization and AI today. Burton, I am so thrilled that you're here. I first got to know you when we were assessing market timing and 22C2
Yes.
solution technology, and I've really appreciated how our relationship has grown over the years. So welcome to Lead the Stack.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate so much you asking me to be part of your podcast, and I'm looking forward to just having a nice conversation with you, like we do when we're in person, right?
Great. Whether it's at NICSA or at the ICI or one of the
Exactly.
working committees,
Exactly.
totally agree with you. So, Burton, let's start off by take us back to the early days. Before fintech was even a buzzword, you spotted a gap in fund processing that very few people were paying attention to. What were the problems that you saw, and what was the light bulb that you started Delta Data?
I'm going to have to go back a little bit further, Ann, than
Okay.
fund processing. So let me go back to 1985. We're incorporated. I was managing partner of a small CPA firm, and I had a really good friend who was a brilliant programmer. And he had had a falling out with his business partner. And so I said, why don't you come over and we'll build a company around you? Because he was brilliant. I became kind of the front face for him as a developer. And so we formed Delta Data around him. And since I was primarily a tax accountant, we started out building tax code-based software. We built a COBRA benefits administration. We built a Section 25 flexible spending. And then the one that really launched us into the software world, as I would say, was our defined contribution system. So there was a large privately held company in Georgia that wanted us, they were running our COBRA and our flexible spending, and they wanted to know if we could build a defined contribution system. Well, I didn't know any better. I didn't know it was one of the most difficult software applications known to man to build. So I said, sure, we can build that. And we did. And we actually were very successful with it. Our first major client after this company was Weyerhaeuser Corporation. And they put a $2 billion, 20,000 employee plan on our system. And that was in 1990. And with that, I was loving the software business much more than I was the accounting business at this point. So we made the decision to sell the CPA practice so we could go full-time into the software business. And just a little anecdotal, a little note on the side, when I came home and told my wife what I was wanting to do, she gave me that funny look, or you're going to what? Sell your CPA practice and go software? There was just 3 of us at the time. She said, if that's what you want to do, then I will back you. But you have to promise me one thing. I said, what's that? She said, keep your CPA certificate, because if the software doesn't turn out, you can always get a job in accounting. And I did that, and I kept my certificate for over 40 years. But with the defined contribution software back in the early 90s, it was a different world than it is today. So back then, plan sponsors, the large corporations, ran profit sharing plans for their employees. This was before 401ks really took foot in the market. And so we were very successful. We had over 40 major companies, all of them household names, running our software. But they were having to fax their mutual fund trades to the fund companies and do direct wires. And so obviously it was costly, it was time consuming. And then I happened to read an article in Securities Industry Daily. I have the article now framed in my office. I kept it. Dated November of 1995, saying that the ICI had selected the NSEC to build a new trading platform for 401ks. And I'm going, aha, that's what we need in this industry instead of all the faxing. So we set out to build a trading platform to answer that. So we started building in '97 when the file formats came out, and that's how we got started in the mutual fund trading business. So,
Burton, that is fascinating that you were in that DC space, particularly when you think about today, where we've got this huge convergence of wealth and retirement. We kind of went from DC being very segregated and segmented, and now we're seeing this big convergence. So very interesting that you were there at the forefront of the DC space.
and we saw a big change in the defined contribution market as well, because in the '90s is when the 401ks started gaining traction. Before that, it was mainly 401A profit sharing, but 401ks started coming along where the employees could put pre-tax money into the plan, and so that started becoming very, very popular. So popular, in fact, that the mutual funds decided they would get into the business. So I'll never forget, I got the call from Weyerhaeuser Corporation saying, Burton, we love your software, but we've got an offer we can't refuse. And it was one of the major fund companies, I won't mention who it was, but it was one of the top three, said they were going to come in and they're going to do the record keeping for free as long as we put our $3 billion in assets in their mutual funds. And that was the first of many phone calls I got saying, we love your software, but we're going to have to come off of it because we got a better deal.
Yeah, and that's a great segue to my next question, which is, you went through a lot of shifts in market. You went shifts in the market, technology shifts, you went through cycles. How did you kind of keep a founder's mindset as the company scaled? And how did you just told a great story about how you handled one of those shifts, but how did you continuously handle those shifts in the market?
Well, it hasn't been easy. The good thing with a small company and you're privately held is you can pivot a lot easier than a large company. So we were able to pivot. One of the big things we had is back in the '90s we were writing with third generation software like COBOL and RPG. But then the world started moving to the graphical user interface. Another little story, one of the companies that private labeled or white labeled our COBRA or our flexible benefits and our defined contribution software is a company called Integral Software. That's a company that was founded by Dave Duffield, who later went on to found PeopleSoft and later went on to found Workday. And after he went public in November of '92, Dave calls me up and says, hey, Burton, we need a defined contribution system. We like what you had, but now we're PeopleSoft, we need a client server version. So we flew out to California, spent a couple days, and he tried to convince us to basically join them and build defined contribution system using people tools. And they were the pioneer of client server. So no one was doing client server on a big, major corporations back then. And so we were a little bit skeptical that this running software on PCs was going to take off. So long story short, much to my chagrin later, we did not work a deal with him. But what he did is he got me alert to the whole move to the Windows-based application. So when we did get around to building the NSCC interface to what is now DCCNS, we decided to build that not in the third-gen green screen software, but to build it with the graphical user interface. And it's a good thing we did because we were able to take that software and integrate it with any record-keeping or bank trust system rather than just our own. So we ended up offloading the defined contribution software and went full-time into the mutual fund trading software. So that was a major change for us then, going from green screens to graphical user interface.
Yeah. So, Burton, you've lived through rising competition, changing client expectations, shift toward real time. What keeps you personally excited and energized throughout all these changes?
Well, I've always felt like we were a solution provider. I always, we didn't just build software to build it, we built it to solve problems for people. And there's always problems out there to solve. And so I've always tried to stay abreast of what's going on in the industry, try to see what's coming down the pike. Even today, the first thing I read is the Wall Street Journal. Second thing I read is Ignites, and just see what's happening in the industry. So you try to get a heads up of what's going on. And with that, it's just exciting to see, like back in the 22C2 days. I'll tell a quick story there. So when that law passed, I was on the ICI BTRAC committee, and I was on the 22C2 formats committee. And I'm thinking, we could build this. I know we could build this. But we were such a small company at the time, and none of the big fund companies are going to want to license it from us to put all their trading data on our system. So a guy named Marty Burns, who we all know, worked for SunGuard at the time, and he was also on the BTRAC committee. And he and I got our heads together, and we said, Marty, we'll build it, and SunGuard can host it and sell it. And so we worked out a partnership, and that happened. So we built it, and they were the front men, if you will, and sold it and hosted it there at data centers. And it was a very successful partnership. And then that led to, in 2013, they were getting ready to go public again, and they were cleaning up some of the little businesses. And 22 was just a small business for them, right? And so they asked if we wanted to buy it, and I said, absolutely, we want to buy your half, and we did. And that's how we got launched into the mutual fund side of the business. So before that, we were on the distribution, the bank, trust, and record keepers, and now we're on the mutual fund side. And so what was interesting is that at the time, in 2013, when we bought it, the CEO of SunGuard Brokers was Bob Santella. So Bob and I worked on the deal. And then now, 12 years later, Bob is CEO of BetaNXT. So we're working together. We're working together again. So it's a small industry, as you and I both know. So you better be nice to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one rule is never burn bridges.
Exactly.
Ensure you're maintaining that social capital. And it's a great discussion point that you brought up about that you're constantly looking for how can I solve these industry problems. So when you think of technology vendor relationship management, it's really key that you're not just a technology provider, you're really managing that relationship and providing solutions. So talk to me a little bit about what do you think good vendor relationship management looks like?
Be good to your vendors. That's a good question. The best advice I can give on a vendor relationship is make sure that there's give and take on both sides. If it's one-sided, it's doomed to fail.
Yep.
So I can't push too hard. They can't push too hard. See what each other's needs are. Try to meet in the middle of the road, and where both sides are happy. And I think that makes for a long-term relationship, both with vendors and clients as well. I mean, we've got clients we've had for 25 years. It's the same concept. Is you've got to meet in the road, and what's good for one is good for the other. So.
Yeah, and it helps you grow with that client. We've seen the same thing with NTN. Many of our clients are 10, 15 year plus clients, and we've grown internally with them because of those strong relationships. So great point there.
Yeah.
Burton, fast forward to today, Delta Data becomes part of BetaNXT, and now you're helping shape the idea of connected wealth, where data, technology, and experience are conversion. How did this acquisition change the opportunity in front of you for Delta Data?
Well, it's been a big plus, I will say that. And I think the timing couldn't be any better. If you think about it, Delta Data, we started in 85. So in 2025 marked our 40th year of continuous operation as a privately held company. Same name, everything. And that's a long time for a small company to be out there plugging away. We've been successful, I'm glad to say, but there were cases where we could not get certain business because of our size. There were things we wanted to do we couldn't do because of capital restraints. There were things we wanted to do, like with AI, but we just didn't have the resources. And so now, this strategic acquisition by BetaNXT has been a real positive for us, in that it has opened up a lot more resources that we never would have had before. For example, we always had to use outside counsel for contract and any legal issue going on, where BetaNXT has a full-blown internal legal staff. So, they can handle contracts and licensing and things, employee things, so much quicker and better than having to go outside. Their technology resources are incredible. Their move in AI is not just talk, it's actual. I like what they talk about, the 3 E's in AI, and they talk about embedded. This AI should not just be stacked on top, of whatever you've got, but should be integrated directly and seamlessly into the systems and the processes. And then the second E is efficient. Shouldn't just be doing things quicker, but smarter and better, right? And then third, experience first. So enhance human judgment, don't overwhelm it. So I think they've hit on some very critical points with AI, and we're seeing it being implemented in our products, in their products. It's just a very exciting time to see AI. And I have to tell you, personally, when I first logged into ChatGPT maybe a year ago, I was blown away. After 40 years of software development, I'm going, how did they do this? I don't know how they did this. And it was magic to me. And I go back to this, it was a science fiction writer and futurist called Arthur Clarke, and his third law has to do with famous third. It says any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way I feel about AI. It is magic. I can't figure it out. It is way too fast and way too smart for me to figure out how they do that. But I use it every day, not only in business, but in personal thing. I'll give you another good example. My wife came to me the other day and said, the washing machine's not working. And I said, well, let me ask my buddy Chat. I go and I take a picture of the washing machine and I upload it, and I said, we got power, but this panel is just blank. It comes back and says, unplug it for 10 minutes and then plug it back in. So I did that. I plugged it back in. It's worked ever since. I mean, we are only scratching the surface of what AI can do.
Burton, I totally agree with you with your analogy that it's magic. I don't know about you, but I shared this in the last podcast. I have named my ChatGPT. I feel like I have a relationship with my ChatGPT. So I use it daily also for personal and business. And I really liked the way that you presented how you're thinking, or how BetaNXT is thinking about the 3 E's of AI success: embedded, efficient, and experience first. And I love that framework because it really captures where modernization is going. You've worked on legacy platforms all your life. How do you view where modernization is going?
Well, if I look down the road, so 40 years, right, and I've seen 4 major technology shifts in my career, and that was number 1 would being the move from the green screens to graphical user interface. Huge change for us. Second was the internet. It changed how we communicate. It changed how software was ran. It's changed how you did research. I mean, it was just, and it affected everybody and everything, even software. The third big change, I would say, was the move to cloud computing. When we tried to get our clients to let us host the software because we knew it would be a lot less maintenance for us. Well, where's my data? It was a big pushback. No, we're not going to let you host our software. We want it on our server so we know where the data is. And eventually, though, the cloud computing moved, and now you couldn't sell on-prem software probably if you wanted to. Everything now is on the cloud. So that was a major shift. And then the fourth one now, here at the end here is the AI. And it has been the quickest technology change I've seen. Everything else was sort of gradual. It took a while to go from green screens to the GUIs. It took a while to move into cloud computing. But AI is being adopted quicker than any technology that I've seen in the last 40 years. And I think what we're going to see is over the next, who knows how many years, 10 years, AI is going to be the centerpiece of modernization. It's no other thing out there coming close to it. And I think from a software development perspective, I posted a LinkedIn article a few months ago saying, something about software development it's come full circle in just 40 years. And what I was referring to is 40 years ago, we built very powerful software, deep in the rock solid software, using third generation software like COBOL and RPG. Who could build a defined contribution system with 3 people today? No, it's a $50 to $75 million project minimum to build a defined contribution. We did it with 3 people in 2.5 years.
Amazing.
It was just a different, your database, your operating system, your IOs were all integrated together. It was much simpler to build. If you had the idea, you could code it and get it built and get it tested and running into production in no time. So if you look under the cover of the major brokerage systems, the major trust systems, the major everything out there, credit card systems, it's still primarily that third-gen software that created this. So with the move to the web-based, browser-based product, software development became much more complicated, much more fragile, I would call it. And it takes a lot more testing and a lot more to implement. And so software development has slowed down, and software enhancements have slowed down. Roadmaps you get a little bit done at a time. We used to just do all kinds of enhancements when we were running the mid-range computers. But now I see with AI, I see us coming back to those days with the help of AI, not just say AI go build something, but with good developers and good designers using AI as a tool. Why can't we go back to build those huge financial systems like we did before in a much shorter time period and have better software? And that's where I think what we're going to see is a new age of software development because of what AI can bring to the table.
Totally agree with you. We are actively full speed ahead on research and developing AI-enabled coding. In fact, we've got a white paper that should be out in a couple of months, if not earlier on that. So totally agree with you on that, that we're going to see a significant new approach to modernization.
Absolutely.
Yep. Burton, one of the things I've always admired about you is your relationship management skills, your people skills, who you know. I've always found ICI, NICSA to help me from a social capital perspective, one, from building a network, but also from a technology lens perspective. It gives me different perspective of how others are viewing the problems. Talk to me about your involvement with ICI, DTCC, NICSA, how that has helped shaped and helped progress in both your personal career and your professional career.
One of my favorite topics. I'm going to go back to 2000 or 2001, and I got a call from Justine Phoenix. Justine was with the ICI, back then, before she went to Fidelity, before she went to Nixon. And she asked me if I wanted to serve on the BTAC committee. It was BTAC before BTRAC. I said, yeah, I think that should be fun. So I joined the BTAC committee. I think it was in 2001, and served that committee for about 18 years. I was the longest continually serving member of BTRAC when I came off. And I'm telling you, all the people that I know in the industry, the bulk of them came from those committee meetings, 3 and 4 meetings a year with 40 or 50 people, fund side, distribution side, and seeing those people come through. And after a few years, a lot of them would get promoted and move on up. And you keep those relationships with those people. So the networking was invaluable, but also the knowledge and just being on the cutting edge of what was going on and what was coming was also invaluable. So the ICI and knowing all the people there, great organization, loved serving there for so many years. Nixon, same thing. What a great organization. The networking, the education that you get there is just incredible. We were together this Boston, I remember, this past November at the Nixon conference. So, and when 2023, I don't know why, but they awarded me the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well deserved, very well deserved.
It was just really one of the highlights of my career. I so appreciated all the people there and Jim and everybody, and they just do a wonderful thing for the industry. Both Nixon and ICI are just cornerstones of the mutual fund industry for sure.
Totally agree with you on that. Burton, you still have a remarkable career. When you look back at the work you're doing now, what are you most proud of?
That's a good question. I look back, I had no grand schemes when we started Delta Data in '85. We just wanted to build something, and I always was interested in software. And we wanted to solve problems and maybe make a little money while we were at it. And I look back and I say, how in the world, 40 years of software development is the same company, providing livelihoods for hundreds of people over the years has been very important. Creating a family atmosphere at work where we were really just a big family, and having the Christmas parties and all the events we've had. And of course, creating software that is now used. I think last count I had, Delta Day, we had 85 clients. And all of them are household names. 23 of the top 25 mutual funds, some of the biggest record keepers and banks in the industry. And all just started with 2 guys decided we wanted to write some software and have some fun and maybe make a little money. It's just incredible. It's been just a blessing beyond anything I could ever have imagined. And to be, when BetaNXT came in and bought us, to be asked to stay on, another just a tremendous blessing to be able to continue to be a part of the organization and watch some of the employees I've had for many years earn very significant places within BetaNXT and see them flourish. It's just been a dream come true.
What a great success story. Burton, before I shift to my last question, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover? Is there anything that, based on our previous discussion that we didn't hit on that you want to make sure that our audience hears?
Well, I'll go back and say what we touched on. It's a very close industry. Mm-hmm. And I have developed friendships. I hate to mention names because I leave people out. But my first BTAC committee meeting with Stuart Bateman welcomed me in. Still a lifelong friend. Just wonderful people in the industry. Little Jimmy Waters with Goldman Sachs, Terry Sloan Yancey with Vanguard. So many people out there that I've gotten to be just close friends with. Like I say, I should have made a list of, but if I made a list, it would be 500 people. So I couldn't do that. But just the relationships to create with these people over the years has been invaluable to me. And that's one reason I like to stay in the industry and go to the conferences, get to see my friends and keep the network going. And so that's been very important to me.
And I think that's why you and Delta Data and now BetaNXT are so successful. You're not just providing a technology solution, you're really providing industry solutions. And you're bringing that with a relationship, client-focused mindset. And I think that's really important for emerging leaders to understand that building your social capital is really important and can
Yes.
help in your developing career.
Yeah, and I would, if I had any suggestion at all for people coming into the industry, it would be get involved, join, be a part of NICSA, be a part of the ICI committee. There are lots of committees out there you can serve on. Get involved, get to networking with the people, learn, get educated, read, read outside of your sphere, and find out what's going on in the industry and outside of the industry. Just kind of be aware of what's going on and meet people and make those friendships, and you'll do okay by that.
Great. Burton, my last question, and most people ask, what's the best career advice you've gotten? My question to you is, what's the best career advice you've ignored?
Best career advice I have ignored. I think that's pretty easy for me. 1990, when we licensed Warehouser and I felt we could make a living, some of my CPA, I told them what I was thinking about doing. Some of my CPA friends and other friends, I said, I think I want to sell the practice and go full-time into the software. And there were 4 of us at the time. But we didn't have a big CPA firm, but we were maybe 25 people. But going into the software, there was only 4 of us that were doing that. And they're like, you might want to think about that, Bert. I don't know if that's such a good idea. But you know, I knew where my heart was. My heart was no longer in public accounting. I was bored. I just got no joy out of it anymore. And creating software fulfilled something in me that was not getting in public accounting. And 40 years later, I look back with zero regrets at all. I'm so glad I made that move. It's been a career of a lifetime. And so that was advice I did not take, and I'm so glad I did.
That's great. That's great. Do you still have your CPA certificate, or have you finally?
I do. In fact, I'm an honorary member of the American Institute of CPAs. I'm an honorary member now of the Georgia Society of CPAs, so I don't even have to pay dues anymore.
That's awesome. So Burton, I want to thank you. This has been a great, fun conversation. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks
Well,
for
thank you,
all your
Ann.
ongoing contributions to the industry. And I can't wait to see what's next for BetaNXT.
Well, I'm looking forward to myself.
Thank
you, Ann.
To our listeners, follow Lead the Stack for more conversations on the future of financial services, technology, and modernization. And until next time, thanks so much for listening.